I hate creative briefs. Creative briefs are written for creative people by non-creative people who think they know what we need to be creative. They don't. This leaves a lot of room for miscommunication and eventually long stretches of uncomfortable conference room silence. 15 years of this silence is potentially one of the things that have made Dave and Rick the men they are today. So if you're new to reading a creative brief, here's a short tutorial. First of all, the word brief is ironic because this is typically an opportunity for a non-creative person to compensate for their left-brainedness by spewing out pages and pages of things we don't need to know or won't ever use in our thought process. So while the summary section you will see at the top of the brief could be as simple as, let's make a fun splash page with a new spin on a wholesome baked good, it will probably be 4 paragraphs long, and have lots of marketing terms in it meant to make the person who wrote it seem smarter than they are. Yeah, just skip to the last sentence in this section and you'll usually find the summary there. Next, there's usually some background, or an explanation of the client's current marketing situation, blah, blah, blah. If their current stuff was working, they wouldn't need you. Besides, immersing yourself in what they currently think is good creative is probably just going to depress you. So skip right over this part. The next part is probably the proposal, or what your agency's executives have proposed to your client in order to meet the agency's fiscal projections for the quarter. Betty Cakes needs this new website because, frankly, we need Betty Cakes money. It's not a marketing game you need to play. You're doing a fun, creative splash page, not curing cancer. And now it's on to the target audience, which is typically about 10 bullet points that seem to be well segmented, but when taken as a whole, typically scream, we'd like to appeal to everyone. Just look and see if you're talking to people over 30 or under 30, and that's usually enough to get started. Oh boy, now we're moving on to the sticky part. Goals. There's a lot of money changing hands across this campaign, so of course people want results. That's certainly not too much to ask. But wanting to dramatically change the way your brand is perceived globally after someone found a finger in one of your blueberry muffins, well, that's a tall order for a splash page. Getting them to check out recipes for pie crust, we can do that, yeah. Requirements, also a potential creative roadblock, because here we're talking about looking at the branding strategy, copy platform, readability standards that were put together by some committee that think Michael Bolton album covers are creative. Here's all you need to know about every brand requirement. Be friendly and approachable, be innovative and forward-thinking. Be all things to all people with 18-point type and a logo big enough to choke John Goodman. This is a box it's very hard to think outside of, so don't put yourself in it to begin with. If the client sees something they like, they'll forget about all the requirements. Promotion or communication plan. Tell you what, just create something brilliant and let the media folks figure out where it's going to go. Timing. Okay, this is actually important, so look this over. Project sponsor. Congratulations, you sponsored a project. You should run for president. Stakeholders. Another word for random people across the table who will not understand your brilliance today, but will take full credit for it tomorrow. Okay, that about sums it up. Before you read one of these things, just sit down and ask yourself, what am I doing, who am I doing it for, and when does it need to be done? And then just sit down and be the creative. So, I'm really sick of him.